Hello everyone. Today we got quite a few announcements we're going to make. I'm going to make a short little video here. Going to try to keep this brief. However, there's a lot of information to go over. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say big announcements per se, but we've got a lot of things to talk about as far as what's in the near future for Ionia. Now, before we get going, I want you guys to know that the changes I'm talking about here are all going to be coming over the course of the next 1 to 3 months, depending on which change we're talking about. So this isn't all going to be in place immediately. It's going to take some time. But this is what's coming in the near future for Ionia. Okay? So, first of all, you guys probably noticed that staff has been a little bit inactive the last couple days, especially me. I've been mostly gone the last few days. Okay? That's nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to be too... it's just because of Christmas. Okay, so Christmas is now done, and staff will slowly be returning to its usual activity over the coming week or so. All right, so that's all good. Server's not falling apart or anything like that. And not only that, but you probably noticed activities dipped as well. It's for the same reason. It's just because a lot of people are spending time with their family for Christmas and that sort of thing. So you guys can expect that soon the activity will go up again and that things will be kind of back to normal. That being said, I've got kind of a big announcement to make here. I'm no longer going to be doing staff events. Server events. Now, that doesn't mean that the server itself won't be hosting events. The staff is more than welcome to put on these events. They can use OP. I'll even help staff promote these events. I'm just not going to be hosting them myself anymore. The reason for that is partly because we figured out that the player base doesn't really like these miscellaneous events. So I'm not talking like the town tournament. That's not going anywhere. The 1v1 tournaments also aren't going anywhere. But I'm talking events like the Castle Siege, the Halloween event, the Christmas event, so on and so forth. We figured out that the player base doesn't really care all that much for those events. Oops, hold on here. So that's the first reason. Now, the other reason is just because, and this is important for you guys to know, in my personal life, I'm going to be pursuing other things. Last year, I was real enthused about the server. I really wanted to grow it and get it real big and everything. But recently, I've taken up some interest in some other things. Now, I'm still interested in the server. I'm still going to play a lot. I still like what we do here. And really, I plan on running the server for years to come. I'll probably run the server for a minimum 3 or 4 more years. Okay? But something I've recently taken a lot of interest in is competing in triathlons. I'm a pretty athletic person. I'm a very competitive person, and recently I've found a lot of interest in that, and I want to start doing that this summer. So I'm going to be dedicating a lot of my time to training for that, and really I just won't be on as much as you guys are probably used to me being on. And the events in the past have taken up all of my time and all of the staff's time. That's really why we have so many members of staff, is so that we have a lot of resources to put together these awesome events, such as what we did on Halloween. But that being said, if we just cut events, then running this server will be a whole lot easier. So I'm just not going to do that anymore. And if the staff wants to put on events, they can put on events. So anyway, I just want you guys to know that way when these things happen, it doesn't come as too much of a surprise or anything. It doesn't look like, we're quitting. So, now that being said, it probably sounds like this is all bad news, but I've actually got a lot of good news in store for the server, okay? So, with the events out of the way, we're now going to place a very heavy emphasis on the town tournament. The town tournament's going to become more competitive. We're going to start doing a lot more things to make it more interesting, such as more commentary. We're going to start videotaping the town tournament battles and posting them on the YouTube channel, so on and so forth. So we're going to do a lot more to emphasize the town tournament and less of these side events that distract the staff and take up more of our resources. That being said, we're also going to put a heavier emphasis on the 1v1 tournaments. A lot of people really like those. They've become a popular thing, and so we're going to do more to enhance those as well. Furthermore, since we won't be doing the events, we'll have more time on our hands up at the executive level, the execs and I are going to be spending more of our time fixing a lot of the bugs, right? One of the bugs I'm talking about right now, you probably noticed that the Hunger Games plugin has caused the nighttime to kind of skip. I don't know about you guys, that has just been annoying the hell out of me. We're going to replace our Hunger Games plugin with a better Hunger Games plugin pretty soon. There's a lot of different Hunger Games plugins out there, and so we're going to replace it with a better one that won't be as buggy. It'll fix that. Aside from that, mini games in general, you're going to see a lot more improvements on the mini games. We're going to be adding a lot of maps. These maps will be good for duels, CTF, Hunger Games, S&D, town tournament battles, so on and so forth. We're going to keep expanding those maps. We have a great build team right now. They just got a good break, so they'll probably be real ready to start building again here soon. And they're going to be doing that probably for the next month or two until we have a whole lot of maps to work with. Now, moving on, another thing we're going to be working on over the coming months is updating our ranks. When we released Ionia 2.0, the biggest objective was to create more ranks and to create ranks that were more challenging. Now, a lot of these ranks were based on plugins and things that I wasn't really sure how it was going to play out, and so I decided to make it super hard, and I figured I could just nerf them later on down to an appropriate level. Well, we now know that some of them are flawed, some of them are too extreme. For example, the Gods plugin. To get to the top of the Gods rank, you need to have 70 followers in your religion. As we all know, getting 70 followers into your religion is just totally impractical. That's just not going to happen. So we're going to nerf that down to something more reasonable, like perhaps 25 followers or something more in the range of what could actually be accomplished, right? Aside from the God's ranks, there's a lot of others that are kind of flawed. We don't often do 1v1 tournaments with over 20 players. Sometimes we do. We've done a couple recently that had 24, but one of the criteria for the 1v1 ranks is that you win, I don't remember exactly how many, but you have to win a lot of 1v1 tournaments where there's over 20 people. So that one's going to be adjusted a little bit. The same goes, pretty much all of them are going to be nerfed just a little bit, not too much. It's still going to be very challenging to get those tier 6 ranks, but it's not going to be quite as absurd as it is right now. So, aside from that, there's going to be an economy update. For the first time ever, I'm proud to say that the economy is deflated, so we're actually going to be taking some measures to inflate it a little bit. In the past, the issue, and in most servers, the issue is that the economy is inflated, but in ours, right now, there's not quite enough money going around. People are getting really stingy about their money, and I think just a little bit more money circulating through the economy would actually be good for it right now. So we're going to take some careful measures in order to inflate the economy just a little bit. Something else that's going to change too, town upkeep right now is kind of flawed. We experimented with the plot-based system, where it's $1 per plot that you own. That one's kind of silly. The small towns pay almost nothing. The big towns pay absurd amounts of money. So we're going to change that a little bit. We're going to switch back to the player-based upkeep system. And with that, I can't really tell you what your town will be. It's going to vary quite a bit, but basically, towns with a lot of players will be taxed more. Towns with less players will be taxed less. Now that said, if you have hardly any plots right now, then most likely, no matter how many players you have, your tax rate will probably go up. If you have a ton of plots right now, regardless of how many players you have, your tax rate will probably go down. So I can tell you right now, Kodama, they've got 1,700 plots, I think. Their tax rate will probably go down because right now their tax rate is absolutely absurd. It's like $1,700 daily. Towns like, I don't even know the names of them, but newer towns who've got like 10 plots, their upkeep right now is only $10 a day. Regardless of how many citizens they have, their upkeep's probably going to increase. Not by a whole lot. It'll still be a reasonable amount of money, but that's probably what we're going to be looking at with that. So it's not really going up or down. It's just going to change. Now, the last big announcement we're going to make here. we're going to we're considering, I should say, it's not official just yet, but we're considering getting Towny War. Okay, the reason for that is because we've discovered there's actually quite a big pool of players in our server that would love to be able to go to war with other towns, and you can actually set it up so that towns can pay like a little bit of extra upkeep. We're going to set it so that's not too much, maybe like $50 a day, not much. But basically, towns will be able to pay money so that they can stay peaceful. And if you're peaceful, then you can't go to war, right? And so people like me who just want to build a town, don't want to have to worry about it getting griefed or anything like that, they'll be able to build towns in peace and not have to worry about war. But let's say that you're the type of player who does want to be able to go to war with other towns, does want to raid, does want to conquer other towns, so on and so forth. Now you'll actually be able to do that. Of course, you won't be able to go to war with peaceful towns. Peaceful towns, they're immune from war indefinitely, and scams to destroy peaceful towns will be treated as grief the same way they are treated today. So if you don't want to participate in war, you certainly won't have to. But if you do want to participate in war, you'll be able to go to war with other towns who also want to participate in war. I think this would be a fun thing for the server. However, I don't want to do this without your guys' input. So, give me your opinions, give me your concerns. If you have any objections or if you really like this, whatever, give us your feedback, and ultimately we're going to do what you guys want. This isn't about what I want. This is about what the players want. And I think, based on the research that we've done so far, that the players do want this. But I do want to get some final input. So, let me know in the comments below what you guys really want. Give me your feedback. So anyway, now that being said, don't expect, if we do decide to implement Towny War, don't expect it to be pretty soon. There's a lot of steps that we'd have to take before this is going to roll out. So first we'd have to figure out all the different configuration settings that we'd have. We'd have to figure out what the rules would be. We'd have to figure out exactly how people want it. We'd have to figure out the way that certain players would exploit it. We'd have to figure out ways to counter those exploits, so on and so forth. And then we'd have to test it a lot to find other issues that could come up, and then we'd have to figure out ways to solve those issues. So overall, between the testing, the configuring, the planning, so on and so forth, we're talking a good 2, maybe as long as 3 months before this is going to come into play. So don't expect this to be something that happens next week. We're talking, minimum 6 weeks down the road before this would be rolled out. So anyway, a few last things worth mentioning here. So first of all, we're going to soon be rolling out with a server wiki, something I'm pretty excited about. Basically, with the server wiki, players and everyone, they'll be able to post tutorials, they'll be able to post info about their town, lore, whatever. Any subject you can think of regarding the server, you will be able to make a wiki for that. And you'll also be able to edit other people's wikis and have discussions on what certain things should say, so on and so forth, just like the actual Wikipedia. So this is going to be a pretty cool thing. There'll be a post in the forums about it once it actually rolls out, but you can expect that probably within the next week or two. Trying to think of other things before we wrap up the video here. Let's see here. It seemed like there was something else fairly important. Next weekend we'll have the town tournament final. So mayors, in case you guys were wondering, the final and the semis will happen on the same day. It'll be next weekend. I'm going to work with the mayors to figure out what the best day of next weekend will be. It'll probably be Saturday, but it might be Sunday or Friday, depending on the mayor's availability. So mayors, do expect to be contacted about that over the coming days. There was one other thing, I forget what it was. It'll come back to me here in a second. Yeah, you know what? I think that's pretty much it. So, anyway, as always, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, if there's anything you want to ask, any opinions you have, whatever, just add it in the comments below, or you can add it in the forum, doesn't matter. And if you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.